I've been told that there's prime content that we don't want to miss. So I just hit record and you're up. You're up,
Thanks,
Janine.
Zoom. Janine, tell us about your move.
Oh, shit. Yeah, so...
Wait.
Oh, fuck.
Oh.
Great.
Oh, that was so satisfying.
Good.
Jesus. So let me just enjoy this non-alcoholic beer for a second. For our dear listeners who are looking to enhance their non-alcoholic beer experience, if you exist, I have an athletic brewing company, Upside Dawn, not down.
If you exist.
Thought that maybe what you were going to say is, I have for our listeners, if they want to enhance their non-alcoholic beer experience, add gin. Welcome to Sauced in Austin.
No!
Welcome to Sick Burn. Have we officially changed it yet? Did we do that last week?
It kind of felt like it last time.
Yeah, you announced it last
welcome
week.
to Sauced in Austin / Sick Burn Jane / whatever.
This will happen. Yeah, it's taking a little bit of time. But it's at some point, Sick Burn Jane.
Sick Burn. Welcome to the podcast.
Hell yeah.
I'm Allison.
I'm Julie.
That's Janine.
Hi.
And we are talking about, Jasper, we are talking about, this is the first proper episode in Kira Fest, our considerable little mini series on Joe Wright's 2005 film Pride and Prejudice, starring Miss Keira Knightley, who is a damn fine Elizabeth Bennet.
God, she's good.
I had to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to have like 3 episodes worth of shit to say about this.
Oh, bitch, it's 6 episodes.
Oh, Lord. Well,
don't worry,
I at least
there
have
are
2
specific
episodes.
topics.
I have at least 2 episodes,
yes.
right? First episode, second episode.
I don't want to give all of the things away, and also I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the guests I want, but for a brief overview. In this episode, we're talking about all the way through the Oh Hell Nozzle. So what we're calling Act 1, it's like an hour and 13 minutes of the movie. In the next episode, we'll be talking about Part Dos. That's 2.
Oh.
Ooh,
I was so lost just now.
Part Deux.
Oh. Ducks?
No, you goose.
Jasper, claw his face.
That wasn't funny at all.
That was me. That was my joke.
No, I was responding to the joke before that.
Oh, I missed your joke because of my joke. What was your joke, Janine?
It was a bad pronunciation of French. I pronounced the X. Redux. Don't worry about it.
2. It's 2.
Dose.
You guys, I'm going to delete everything up until this fucking point.
Well, let's
get it together.
To Sauced in Austin / Sick Burn Jane.
I just reopened my beer.
Anyway, part 1.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've just heard because Julie just threatened to cut all of our good shit.
You'll hear it all.
Okay, great. Part 1 is this. We're talking about Part 1. Part 2 is talking about Part 2. And then after that, we're going to have a hand flex episode where we talk about the sex appeal and specifically why that scene is so beloved and famous. We are doing a costumes episode, naturally, which a friend of the show, Emma Fraser, is going to come back and talk to us about the incredible costumes. I assume we will probably also touch on the incredible set decor, set dressing, art direction, the whole 9. And some other things, but those are the 2 that I have confirmed outside of our first 2. I guess maybe cool. 1 is Kira solved. Ready. Whatever, we're doing it. I'm stoked because in my memory, the way that this movie exists in my memory is, it's good, but it's not as good as my PP. And that's about it, really. And then we watched today and I was like, oh, no. It's not my PP.
Yes, it's somebody else's PP.
It's someone else's.
But it's a very good PP. It's really...
definitely good, respectable PP.
The adaptation is really quick, but they're not leaving things out that I find frustrating, really.
It's like distilled very well.
Yeah. And there's some really clever filmmaking, like atmospheric filmmaking. When
she walked into his chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's all of those really long shots in the Netherfield ball sequence.
There's so many of them.
Where you can watch that family get progressively more drunk.
Yeah.
And nobody ever has to say anything about it. But you watch all of them, probably including Mary, because she gets all weepy with Papa Sutherland.
Oh, you're right. Do you think Mary gets hammered too?
I think they probably. Well, I don't know.
It's very clear that Dad Bennett gets hammered in this movie.
Oh yeah, Dad Bennett gets hammered.
It's fucking drinking all day at
Sutherland
home.
was just like, let's make this happen. Give me the Claret.
Neil and I at one point saw him drinking, and we're like, "Hold on, well, he deserves a sip."
Hold on, I have to preserve the claret.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed this first hour.
Yeah, it was good.
If you're just joining us because it's Jane Austen and you don't listen to our other podcast, that's an Outlander joke.
So you should go check out that other podcast that may or may not be on another feed right now called Podleather Drunkcast, an Outlander podcast.
Maybe it's called that. Who knows?
We're not changing that one. That one's staying.
No, we're not. It's staying. Anyway,
time travel.
Time travel is incredibly painful.
I read a really great dissertation about time recently. I'm not going to go into any more depth, just to let you know that I've come up with a lot more jokes I'm going to use later. And that's
Can you please email us your source?
Yeah, you want to read it?
Of course.
It's about time. It's about temporal focus and temporal depth.
Sounds right up my fucking alley, dude.
Okay,
great.
Yeah, great.
So let's talk PP. I've got some questions for the panel before we get into the.
Are we putting on our panel glasses?
These are my blue light blockers, bitch. I sat in front of a computer all day. Oh, look at him, so stylish.
Janine.
Anyway, Patty, I want to talk about the cast because I feel like, as is always the trouble with these episodes where we're essentially recapping the same thing we've recapped a zillion times.
So many.
We're not going to really talk about the plot except for when it pertains to the adaptation or if there's a big change, stuff like that. But for me, I've been dying since we scheduled this podcast to know what Julie thought about this cast, because I think this cast is fucking stacked. I think Joe Wright does a great job of using I guess like the essence of the people he's casting to enhance what's going on with the character, right? And
Absolutely.
You can sort of reframe it like Tom Wamsgans. I'm sorry, Matthew McFadden. Julie, you've got to get on that Succession train.
I'm not on that train either.
I'm sorry. No.
You would love it.
I just really have a hard time accepting new properties in my life right now because I already have too many. Like, I've got the Golden Girls, I've got PPs, I've got, and I know it's your job and you've got so many things you have to watch, but I feel like a real saturation point when I get to a certain level. And because then I feel like I can't devote enough focus or attention to any given property, right?
That happened to me in like March, where like this of 2021, where suddenly I read like 6 books because I was like, I cannot watch any more TV.
I have been loving reading again, which is a weird like cyclical thing for me, which is on again and off again. And the pandemic has been really good for my reading.
Yeah.
So, yes, Neil loves Succession.
Succession fucks.
Right. Am I going to add it to my watch list? Probs not.
Oh, but someday. Julie, you would fucking love it. It's great. Anyway,
I don't want to see people be assholes to each other.
I don't need that right now in my life.
You hate them, but you also love them. It's really
Neil does love them too. We had a whole conversation about it last night.
And they're so miserable and they're so terrible, and almost all of them I really love them, even though they're horrible.
So it's a Jane Austen novel.
I wrote an article about how everybody who compares Succession to Shakespeare is doing it wrong because actually Succession is Jane Austen.
Yes!
Nice.
I wrote it for Paste.
Nice.
I wrote you are correct. Sick burns abound.
Wait, abound. So in the crowdcast, someone was noting that this Darcy is hot in this movie, but not hot in Succession. Is that? Did I understand that correctly?
This is the entire conversation I had with Neil last night about Succession. Is that Matthew McFadden plays a submissive character, like he's the son-in-law of the Rupert Murdoch character, so he's always sniveling and kissing up to him, but treating everybody beneath him like shit.
Oh.
And then he has his hot wife, Rupert Murdoch, quote unquote's daughter, who's super hot and doesn't really give a shit about him.
Well, it's the situation's a lot more nuanced than that.
Sure, but she's fucking other people.
Let's Succession spoilers.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, it is very Jane Austen.
It's extremely Jane Austen. Tom Wamsgans is the character's name in Succession, and I feel like this is an indication of the level of writing on Succession, and the jokes, because there's no reason that his last name has to be Wamsgans.
That's
Wamsgans. It doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like Wam's Gams.
Wamsgans.
You know what it's closer to though? Funke.
It's very Funke. It's a very Funke name.
Nice.
Totally. I wouldn't say that it's that he's not hot, but he's not Mr. Darcy.
He's not dripping with
he's the worst because they're all the worst.
Yeah. Okay.
Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is actually the worst. Well, the dad is actually the worst.
You know what though? I can see Cameron being the worst in his
he's
middle to old age.
He's the oldest, and he's whatever. This is not a Succession podcast.
He turned into Cameron's dad with the Ferrari.
Yeah,
he became his future self.
I'm waiting for Ferris Bueller Jr.'s Day Off, and I just want Cameron's dad to be there.
Let's come back to Pride and Prejudice.
We should talk about this PP.
So, the question that you raised, Janine, is what's the deal with him not being hot in Succession?
Yeah.
And Matthew McFadden is hot, period, end of sentence.
Okay. It wasn't like, because this was like.
Wamsgans.
Because this is decades. Like, a couple decades have passed. So, like, if he's not as hot anymore, that happens.
I mean, it was 2005.
16. So, not a couple decades, a decade and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm rounding up.
You know what? Colin Firth was 1995, and that motherfucker can still get
That's a couple of decades and still Uber Darcy.
That's true. That's very true. Well, I mean, different people, different strokes, different folks.
Coming back to the cast. I'm curious to know, maybe let's start with the Bennett family. How do you feel about our Bennett parents?
Great. I almost felt like I had seen this Mrs. Bennett in something else.
I promise you have.
Brenda Blethyn.
Character actress extraordinaire.
I feel like she was a Mrs. Bennett we've seen. And I don't think that's true, but I feel like she was another Mrs. Bennett we've watched. And I've just like, in
something else or.
Yeah, she's just so good at it. She's very
been
good.
In so much shit.
Yeah.
She's a very good Mrs. Bennett.
I'm thrilled about Brenda Blethyn. She's perfect, and she really kind of hits a reality level with it that a lot of Mrs. Bennett is such an outsized character, right? But I think this actor realizes how to ground it in reality really well.
Yeah, I agree.
And Donald Sutherland is a fucking iconic choice for Mr. Bennett. Like, he's very, very good at this part because he's always had that air of detachment. No matter what he's in, he's always detached or separate from it.
Yeah.
I love that every chair he sat in, he never sat straight up. He always slouched so he could hide behind his newspaper. I fucking love that. It was so good.
The scene that I love from both of them and from Kira too, honestly, is the big punchline from the first part of the book. Your mother will never see you again if you do marry Mr. Collins, and if you don't marry Mr. Collins, and I will never see you again if you do. Zing! That's a punchline. That's a Jane Austen joke. And it is still funny because it's a funny line, but they don't play that scene for laughs at all.
No.
Because all three of them are so invested in the stakes of what is going to happen if we have to leave this house and none of us are married. Like, what do we do? What is going to become of us? And that's what will become of us all is what Mrs. Bennett says over and over again. But here in that scene is where I believe it the most. I think it's the punch number 2 then is the way that Charlotte behaves when she comes to tell Lizzie. But we'll get to Charlotte in a minute. Yeah. Anyway, I agree.
That was the best scene in the first half of the movie, in my opinion.
I think that Brenda and Donald are just straight killing it.
I really liked in this particular adaptation how the Netherfield has been finally let it last is just the two of them kind of behind closed doors, like they don't know anybody can hear them.
Yeah.
Because every other adaptation we've seen, it's a big public scene where Mrs. Bennet is like freaking out that there's a rich man next door. But this one is a little bit more pointed and quiet, where she's running to her husband immediately like, Jesus Christ, we got to get these kids out of here. My God, look at this guy. So interesting.
They did a really good job with that kind of environmental conversation where it's like you don't have to put them all in the same room. You just put them on the other side of a door and you've changed the dynamic. Like everyone still hears it. When Donald Sutherland left that room, the line he says is, "Oh, look, people." Like, he's like, I knew you were there. Because he knows
they're listening.
Yeah, he's like, I know you're there. Oh, I'm so surprised. Let me keep walking. Where's my fucking newspaper? He was very. It's very good.
Excuse me, prize orchid coming through.
That's true. That was what he had.
All right. So what about our sisters? We've got. We'll save Kira. We'll discuss Kira later.
Sure. My heart.
Our four Bennets.
My heart.
Jane.
Ooh,
Rosamund
perfect.
Pike. Interesting casting choice, but that's only from this end of the time perspective.
Yeah, this movie exists in a pre-Gone Girl universe.
Right. Back then, I would not have known Gone Girl, and I would not have known whatever this elder abuse shit she was just in is. But that actor has definitely been pushed or shoehorned into Ice Queen kind of mean roles.
Yeah.
And Jane is like the antithesis of that. And I think she does a great job. She's very beautiful, and she and Kira, their chemistry together as sisters is very good. I'm cool with her.
I think within the realism that this movie's playing with, which, is, and maybe that might be a qualified statement given the speed of like how time seems to be progressing. But I think she's a good choice from that kind of colder perspective, given the shyness and the modesty, which actually like that during the Oh Hell Nozzle, that was the first time I really caught that Lizzie was saying, I don't even know what she's feeling. She doesn't even tell me what she's feeling. How can you fucking know this and make a decision about her future?
The reason you caught that is because that's
an added line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does say that to Charlotte, right? Like the conversation she has with Charlotte, but she doesn't say any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, then part of the adaptation I like, but also like, I think I finally like picked up on that, where in other adaptations, no shade on any of the Janes, but like, I didn't pick up on the shyness, modest part of that as much, I guess. But she's great.
I think this is a spoiler for when we do our PP part 1 bracket episode, but I think she might be my favorite Jane. But a lot of her best stuff is yet to come.
Yeah.
I love that she gives Lizzie a little pushback sometimes. Which is also an adaptation thing, obviously. And I love that they do the what I'll call the dead wife shot, which is under the sheet and there's light and you're sideways like
so
this.
Pretty. That was such a pretty scene.
This is the dead wife shot.
Why is it the dead wife shot?
Because you watch any show where the hero has a dead wife and that's why he's a hero. And
they're
in
always
a flashback,
talking to each other on a blanket.
It's going to be pillow talk. There's going to be a sheet over her head. Sometimes there'll be like home footage where she's like, I'm drinking but now I'm having an intimate moment with the camera. Totally. Anyway, she gets a dead wife shot because the real love story of Pride and Prejudice is between Jane and Lizzie.
Yeah, that's right.
Good job, Joe Wright. Good job, Joe Wright.
That was a very pretty moment too.
It's very
such
pretty.
a great job.
Well, and I think does a great job of illustrating the differences in their temperaments, right? Like Lizzie is so happy for her, but it's all like sharp, fun, bantery, and whereas Jane is just kind of like freaking out that she's having so many feelings. You know what I mean? Like she's sort of overcome, and it kind of dampens her ability to speak. It's a great scene.
Yeah.
All right. What about poor sweet Mary?
Just great casting and great costumes to hit the point home.
She has the beautiful moment when Lizzie turns Collins down and everybody else is laughing, but she's really sad.
Yeah.
And then she has kind of the elevated moment after her dad tells her to quit playing the fucking piano because everybody else needs a chance, where she's as you rightly said earlier, maybe a little bit hammered and feeling a little bit shitty about what she has to offer when she's crying and talking about how she hates balls and blah, blah. It's interesting. It's not enough to make Mary stand out for me.
I think, and I don't think there's anything to be done, but I do think that she did a good job, or Joe Wright might have helped us along.
There is something to be done, and that is to cast an incredibly magnetic person in a role that doesn't get any time.
Sure.
Julie, stop giving away my ideas. Come on.
But I feel like
stop talking about Hot Mary. That's top secret.
I saw
Not
more,
just Hot Mary.
I saw more of the off-screen thought process stuff, right? Like at the table, she had a quill and she was writing, rather than just simply reading a book, which you see a lot of Marys do, or the outsized emotional reaction because she was probably hammered and she was trying to play. There seems to be a lot more going on with this Mary that is not necessarily changing how we feel about Mary.
It's never going to nothing is ever going to change about how we feel about Mary. It's baked in.
There's just something about her.
Damn it, you got there before me. You did so good.
I knew you were going to do it, so I was going to do it for you, bitch.
God, you awesome.
You're not awesome. Every day that you can out Janine. But I did.
So good. My hair is standing straight up on end. It was so nice.
Yeah, it always does that, buddy.
I know. Now it's floofy.
You have a lot of volume. How do you make that volume happen?
Well, today it's because it's fucking humid as shit here. And most of the time it's just because I don't know. I just do this a lot. I fluff my hair.
There you go.
Great.
That's the answer, bud.
All right. Fucking doing this all the time. Fluff, 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 fluff.
Let's talk about Kittia. That's my couple name for them.
That's perfect.
Kittia was good.
Here's the thing. I don't even remember the actress that played Lydia, which is the more quote unquote forward part, because fucking Carey Mulligan is Kitty.
I told you were going to be surprised by the person playing Kitty.
I'm glad. This is
she's
the
a major
opposite
actress
of Kitty Erasure. Yes, this is the opposite of Kitty Erasure. Although, I guess it did take 15 years for this to be something that somebody's saying. But it elevates the role of Kitty because the actress playing Kitty is demonstrably more magnetic than the actress playing Lydia.
Well,
it's clear.
You may sing a different song after you've seen part 2.
Okay. I'm ready to be corrected.
Because that actress is also very good in a lot of other stuff too.
She is very now. What is that actress's name? The actress that plays Lydia.
Malone.
Thank you. Yeah. What else has she done? Because do you know who she reminds me of? Is this character actress named Jane Addams? That is actually her name. And she was in she had a great episode of Atlanta. She's been in all sorts of shit. But when she comes into something, it's like she's dropped in. Oh my God. She plays what's her name's mom in Hacks.
She's incredible. I agree. She was in one of my favorite movies from last year. I don't remember how time works anymore. She's great. She's a great actress.
I think that this Lydia works in that kind of same way where it's kind of a stealth drop.
Yeah.
And that will then explode because that's what Jane Addams is. She always just comes in from the outside and then becomes this elemental weird, you won't forget her scenes. You will never forget her scenes.
This was the first PP where I could tell that Lydia was younger than Kitty. Where Kitty had an age component to her and Lydia felt more immature than Kitty. Their energies were obviously still similar for that Kittia relationship.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that.
But if I felt that age difference for the first time here, I think.
For me, it's a temperament difference because Kitty is silly and Lydia's a dick. And that's how... I don't know. I guess that's part of how I've read the book because Kitty is so casually cruel so often and not Kitty, Lydia. Oh my God. This is what I get for saying Kittia. I'm never going to be able to say either of their names ever again. Lydia is often, I think, more cruel than Kitty is. Kitty can also be a butthole, but Lydia is the real golden butthole of the relationship. And here it's I just want to take Carey Mulligan and shake her by her cute little shoulders and be like, just stop for just a second. And you're behaving like an asshole. You're behaving exactly like a teenage girl who thinks it's fun to go run around Meyer with her friends as a social life. I was that girl. I did that. That was me. And you think, oh, I'm having so much fun, when really you're just being the absolute fucking worst.
Don't worry. Once Lydia goes away, Kitty evens out a bit.
She does. She will. Jenna Malone has been in all kinds of things. She, I think, is probably best known for the Hunger Games movies, but she's in... That's right. She's young Jodie Foster, I think, in Contact.
She is.
She's... let me go back to stuff that's a little bit earlier. She was in the Hatfield and McCoy's miniseries. That seems like a thing Julie would have watched.
Nope.
Sucker Punch.
Oh, I have seen Sucker Punch, but that's been a long time since I've seen that turd. Who does she play in Sucker Punch?
Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket. I don't remember enough about it other than that I hated it and it was an affront against womanhood.
Oh.
Anyway, she's been in a bunch of things, but I think she's probably most famous for being in the Hunger Games movies.
So far, their energy is good. I like the Kittia name, and I like the energy that this Kittia brings.
Her energy is very frenetic and very like trying to be in front all the time. I think that's great.
Yeah.
She, I'm going to be very curious to know your thoughts on old Jenna Malone once we get through part 2. Okay, here's a big one. Let's talk about Mr. Collins.
No. Okay, I love things about it, but then I really, really hate things about it.
Okay, talk to me.
This is a very interior Collins. This is a very things that have happened inside me coming like affecting how I speak to others Collins, as opposed to, in my mind, the ideal Collins, which is outside in all the time. And it's impactful and it's interesting, but I don't think it serves the character as well. I don't know. It doesn't offer us that break in the middle of Act 1, which is what Collins is for. Is to like, oh God, a release. Oh, here's a butthole we can all laugh at, right? It doesn't give us that break. And then eventually it feels like he didn't want to get married and that it was all an inconvenience. And I don't know. There's a lack of joy.
There's I don't think in 2005 the popular zeitgeist had the language for this, but now we do. I feel like he's very neurodiverse and like just hadn't like he's maybe even asexual if it goes that far, but just like doesn't want this thing, but knows he has to do it. Like you can see the distaste on his face, like when he's like talking with her, he's like, Lady Catherine de Bo's asking me to do this, and I gotta do this, and I gotta like,
you know
like,
what? At least this Collins has distaste when he's going through the Bennett sisters like cattle.
Yeah.
At least he has a moment of shame and distaste.
My read on this is totally different from the two of you. I find this fascinating. So what you're saying is you think that he hates having to do this.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't think he hates getting to inherit the property. I think he hates having to get married.
Yeah, I think it's that specifically. And I don't think he hates like anything else he's doing. I just think that he doesn't. I don't think he processes the emotions that is being asked of him to process when it goes to marriage. He looks at it very much as an intellectual exercise. He's like, well, I guess I have to do this. And he'd prefer not to, but he understands why he has to. Because
it is a real Bartleby the Scrivener situation.
Yeah. And like, you know, and
English
when it comes
English joke. I prefer not to. That was impactful to me as a high schooler, and I carry that lesson with me to this very day. I prefer not to.
And when it comes to like the Darcy introduction, where he like, you know, comes up behind him and like, Mr. Darcy, like rather than just standing next to the open space and just like making himself known to this giant as a smaller man. I think it's like, it just, to me, that's not distaste on that side. That's more just like this is a thing he has to do for society and he's okay with doing the society things. But when it comes to like a personal, intimate relationship, he wasn't necessarily on board.
It's interesting to me because when you bring up that example, I think about how it fell. I think about what the time, like after we've met Mr. Collins all the way through the Oh Hell Nozel. So we're just talking about the first hour and 13 of the movie. Mm-hmm. As I said, I really think the first introduction of Mr. Collins and then kind of his arc until he hooks up with Charlotte is supposed to be a valve release. Like it's supposed to, we're supposed to have a moment where like, oh, it's so clear how we feel about this guy. What a ding dong. Right. And
Goofy.
I think
he's goofy.
I think that has been taken away from us in this adaptation, but I think it's in service of trying to get to the oh hell nozzle. Like they're trying to build everything up so hard.
Yeah.
That the rainstorm at the fucking Parthenon or whatever the fuck that thing was is supposed to be like a true release when really in the novel there's no release there. It's the midpoint. It's like pushing you onwards.
Because on the timeline of the film, that was only 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe 10 minutes earlier. 10 minutes earlier, you have this moment.
I'm just talking about the characterization of Collins as a whole.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because they've made him less funny. They've made him more interior and more like, I can understand what he's feeling, even though he's ridiculous, as opposed to kind of what I believe him to be in the book, which is kind of a clown, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, I think he's still pretty funny, mostly because of the close talking, because I find the close talking uproariously funny. Every time he's like this close to Keira Knightley's face and she's just like trying not to laugh, I find that very endearing. I also love the moment when Matthew McFadden turns around and the guy ducks out of the way of his elbow. Has to go like this because he's elbow high. Good moment. But for me, I think the reason that they make him less funny is because they take very seriously what it costs Lizzie and her family for her to choose to be romantic, lack of a better term, and to say no to him, right? Like, because that's real, because she really is giving up something and in a certain light, potentially dooming her family to something. If 50 years from now, she regrets this because they all wound up unhoused, you know what I mean? Like that's...
Then I'm going to say that his proposal scene and her response to it does not bear that out because it's so quick and so fast.
Yeah, I
think she's just like nope, and it's done.
Well, because she couldn't. I'm not saying that she's waffling on it, but I'm saying the scene with her parents, though, she is begging, "Please don't make me do this," and her dad says, "No, you don't have to." But they're all aware of how high the stakes are. So even though she literally ran away because we have that great shot of her sprinting away from the house, and then her mom like huffing and puffing along behind her while a whole flock of geese just run down the road.
That geese shit was tight.
That was really good.
And so she's like, her revulsion is so profound that she begs her whole family to stay so that it just won't happen, then gets through it as fast as she can and literally sprints away from the property. But that doesn't make it not a potential loss to her family because it's an opportunity for them to not lose their home. Is what her saying no is her giving away an opportunity for them to not lose their home. Yeah.
I mean, but I think that along the line of Mr. Collins, though, like of that performance in that particular actor, I think it just, I'm with Julie. Like, I think there wasn't cold. Like, he wasn't gregarious. He wasn't like,
there wasn't the,
I saw someone
joy
in pain.
and ignorance. There wasn't the joy and ignorance that all of our best Collins have had.
Like I saw a guy who was in pain. That's why
this guy was in pain.
Yeah,
this guy was having psychic questions with himself about who he was, identity questions, and he could not answer them to the manner or fact that his benefactress wanted him to answer them, and so he got married. I think that he didn't want to be married, and I think that he was, and that's okay because maybe Collins doesn't want to get married, but also it just loses something of that release valve in the middle of the first act where you need to like loosen up before we get to Darcy
and the
giving
Parthenon.
his oh hell nosel. Right. Yeah, at the Parthenon.
That was so epic. Very.
It is. Why the fuck is it the Parthenon?
Because these are rich ass people.
For that one scene,
you're right.
they flew to Athens just to make sure.
This is, I mean, I think that this is a good transition to talking about Dame Judy because
amazing.
Perfect. You'll obviously talk about the set dressing and
who gives a shit,
location scouting and stuff.
How do we talk about her? Because she's just so good.
She understood the brief. She did it.
You know, I don't know if this is maybe an adaptation or maybe a choice for from Dame Judi Dench, but like this was the first adaptation where I noticed when she was offering the housekeeper's pianoforte that it wasn't to Lizzie, that it was to Charlotte instead.
No, I noticed. I've never noticed that one in the last one.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's an adaptation choice.
Oh, that is okay. Because I liked it because she was like, go away from this conversation.
So dorky. There's like a vagueness in the pronouns. I think that she says, I have told Mrs. Lucas that but it's while Lizzie is playing. And anyway, I think that it's a choice to make it Charlotte because in that respect, then we know of Charlotte's life that she is constantly being invited to come improve her shitty piano playing in a part of the house where no one can hear her all the time.
Yeah. I know that this was not in Murder at Pemberley or Murder whatever, but that feels like something that happened. This has happened where we talked about Lady Catherine saying, oh, you're welcome to come. You won't make any problem in that part of the house.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously like the servants' quarters. We've talked about this before, and I don't know.
It's because it's in there. It's usually Mrs. Jenkinson's room. It's her daughter's companion.
But she's typically in the original, she's saying it to Elizabeth. She's not saying it to Charlotte. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's that it's vague that it could be to either.
There is some vagaries in the pronouns. Yeah. We're in the weeds. I feel like this is actually going to actively be confusing to some people. So maybe we should cut a little tiny part of this.
I like that Lizzie, what happened in this adaptation that was very clear was that Lizzie, Lady Catherine Barbeau basically said, hey, Lizzie, go play music and we're not going to talk to you now. You go away. Like, I want to have a conversation here and you go over there. And now I'm going to.
And I want to humiliate you.
Yeah. Because you said you're not very good at this. Go play the piano.
Yeah. It's definitely much meaner.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just presumptuous and like arrogant in other adaptations. And in this one, it feels like a deliberate act of cruelty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And they let her actually be bad at piano.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, when she's like, "No, I'm not. This isn't modesty. I'm really bad. I'm really bad.
I'm terrible." And then she is terrible.
Yeah, like she only knows one song. She looks around, just goes, "Well, anyway, here's Wonderwall."
Anyway, you bitch.
Oh boy! I've been sitting here for 2 minutes thinking about that.
Of course you have. I was at the bar with Aaron this weekend, and we were playing some tunes on the jukebox, and we were talking about something, I don't remember what, and at the end of some song, he went, anyway, here's Wonderwall, and then Wonderwall started playing. It was because he just waited until that song ended. He played a song on a jukebox for an entire joke, which I recognize we've done many times. But it was like, I now know why it is that most of Janine's jokes are so bad. And it's because
we did it at camping too.
I know, but you don't understand. It was a totally natural transition, and then Wonderwall started playing. It was the reason that his jokes are so bad is because the universe was saving them all for this one moment.
It's this one thing.
It was really wonderful. This, on the other hand, this one was just fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where my bar is set for me. Is fine. That's great.
So Judy performance, I want to know a little bit more about performance, and then I also want to talk about that fucking wig, the drag queen wig.
Well, we're gonna have like a costumes and stuff.
Oh, sure.
Should we say for that?
No. I'm saying we're going to talk about it twice because obviously we're going to talk about it again. I need at least some. I want to know what fruit you could fit inside that wig.
Pineapple.
A whole pineapple?
A whole pineapple, maybe 3.
I don't think so.
No, the whole point is that wig is for a mature woman because it's gray, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say prunes.
Oh, like a whole bag of prunes?
Just a whole bag of prunes.
Nice.
You don't know when you need one. Just reach up and grab one.
I think she probably has figs up there. I think she'd be a fig lady.
Figs also work.
Yeah.
But that's a very specific season.
There's like a whole box at Harry and David up here.
Just
plums, prunes, pears, baby, pears.
And on one side, there's a Walker shortbread she just pulls out, you know?
Lovely.
Yeah.
We've invented a new hairstyle craze.
This is a charcuterie hair, or a charcuterie? Charcuterie?
No, go to hell.
Go away. Go away. What's wrong with you?
Charcuterie.
No. No.
God, I wish that we were in the crowdcast because I could have just muted him. Just mid-sentence. It would have been great.
We should move on.
You'll see yourself out. Bye. Okay, so we Charlotte.
Yeah.
Great. Oh my God. Her monologue was maybe the highlight of the first half of this movie.
Tell me about it. Tell me your feelings, Julie.
She was, first of all, please tell me the actress's name, if you don't mind looking it up.
I do not. Claudie Blakely.
Okay, so Claudie Blakely, I would like to thank you for doing your job so fucking well. Here's
hashtag Fitzmob for Claudie Blakely.
Fitzmob for Claudie Blakely. We spend 45 minutes listening to Mrs. Bennett be a super dickbag about Charlotte and about, oh, I wish she was prettier.
More handsome.
Over and over again. And here's just Charlotte being her supportive best friend of her second eldest daughter. Like, just being ride or die. And then she has to take the opportunity that's given to her. We all know this because of the book. And this defense, her monologue in her defense, is the most real and like deep-seated consideration of that character's humanity that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
This is without a doubt the best Charlotte Lucas I've seen. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have nothing else to add to that. I totally agree with that too.
Yeah. She fucking kills it. All right. Well, I guess all we're left with really right now are the big two.
The deuces.
You know what? They're both fine. They're both really hot. And they're both trying to touch each other sometimes. And that's really cute. I think that maybe she's a little bit better than he is, but he's okay.
Are we not going to do Bingley? We're gonna not do
Bingley. I love Bingley.
I think Bingley is perfectly cast.
Perfectly. That coif of a hair, his energy as a golden retriver.
Exactly.
Oh, God, so good.
Golden retriver. Human golden retriever.
To die.
This is an adaptation choice because I've never noticed his floundering around like, oh, well, I didn't mean that, but I do mean this, but I love you.
That's an adaptation choice for
sure.
That
was a great adaptation, and he did well.
Well, it makes him funny in a way he isn't usually.
Yeah.
Which
Caroline,
I like.
meh.
Oh, I'm into this Caroline, but hold on. I want to say one more thing about Bingley, which is one of my favorite moments in this first half is when Jane is walking through the ballroom and he tries to grab a little tiny piece of her dress.
Oh my God, when he tries to grab her butt?
It's a piece of her dress, like a little floaty.
Yes, he just wanted to touch but he reached right for her butt. He wanted to touch her. It didn't matter.
He just wanted to touch her, and he was like, "Oh, like I can hold this part."
That was good.
It was cute.
That was very good. There was a lot of graspy hand things, and I understand why the hand flex is going to be like thematically relevant when it happens. Like I get it because the fucking helping her up into the carriage.
You've seen the hand flex, girl. That was it.
It wasn't the Pemberley hand flex, but it was that we have from 1995 from
I've seen
Nemesis.
that he helps her into the carriage. I haven't seen they meet at Pemberley and then he freaks out. I haven't seen that yet.
Well, he does
it in that. He does it in that scene.
So the timing of the hand flex in this was that scene.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
We'll revisit, Janine. The hand flex is a specific to like you're inventing a Colin Firth hand flex that doesn't exist. The hand flex is a 2005 joint for sure.
No, doesn't he do the hand? Doesn't he do the hand thing?
No. Colin Firth doesn't do any hand flex.
But doesn't he he holds her hand?
He just helps her into a carriage. I'm talking about today. The only thing that I saw was when he touched her hand to help her into the carriage.
And then he walked away.
I didn't see this.
I can tell you what happened, Julie. You saw him touch her hand to get into the carriage. Go ahead, honey. Go get your water.
Oh, no. Sorry. I'm done.
What?
I think she was drinking water when it happened.
Oh, I thought you said I have to go get we are all over the place today, guys.
Yeah.
No. You saw him help her into the coach and you took a note about it. And in the second you took a note about it, do you have a note about the carriage?
I do, but was it when they were leaving Rosings?
No, when they're leaving.
That's when he helped her into the carriage in this part of the movie.
No, it's not Rosings. It's Netherfield. It's when Jane is sick at Netherfield and they load her into the carriage to go home.
No. He didn't look at her that way until after all that shit.
No, I think
this was when he was at Rosings and he helped her into the carriage.
She doesn't get into a carriage at Rosings.
Yeah, I think and Allison's right on this.
I'm having a hard time.
This movie moves so quickly that it's hard for me to remember when things happened because it's just like.
You're right. Here it is.
Yeah.
Hand up to the carriage. They might as well be Frenching, and that is when they're still at Netherfield, right?
So Julie, you wrote down they might as well be Frenching, and while you wrote down they might as well be Frenching, Matthew McFadden went like this. Sorry, I'm flexing my hand.
Maybe
that's
you can hear
when
my
it
tendons.
happened. That was hand flex. You'll have to watch that scene again.
Yeah, it was quick.
It's
wow, it's really interesting that would be so impactful, but I get it. I 100% understand what that would be so impactful for people, but
but you didn't see it. You got to see it.
Gotta do it again.
I knew that they might as well be Frenching in that moment where they touched each other.
But that's what really sells it. It's like...
Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is I felt that before that.
A triumph of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Seriously, it really is worth it. It's a famous shot for a reason. And you've got to watch it because we're doing an entire episode about it.
Are we really?
Well, that's clear.
Okay.
Anyway, do you not want to? Are you salty about that?
Oh no, I'm not salty about anything. I have to watch all this shit.
I'm mustardy about it.
Okay. Oh God. Is it too late to write him out?
It's too late.
It's too late, and we've signed papers.
Oh my God, we have.
Now, this is less formal now. This is much more formal now. Now it
actually is too late. Okay.
Now it's real.
Oh boy. Dude, none of this is gonna make sense to any of you guys. Sorry. Okay. And Kira. So Matthew McFadden, hand flexing, and Kira.
God.
I have to make one more point about ancillary characters before we move on to Darcy and Elizabeth. I was going to let this go, but I realized that Neil made such an incredible point that I'd never considered before from the book. Charlotte Lucas is to Mr. Bennett as Mr. Collins is to Mrs. Bennett.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm remembering now, we went back to supporting characters and you said Caroline Bingley and I said I wanted to come back to it. So let's really briefly touch on Caroline Bingley.
I think she did a really good job. I don't think she was as good as the A&E, and I definitely don't think she was as good as Bride and Prejudice. She was fine.
She, I think, is an interesting halfway between Indira Varma and, unfortunately, I do not remember the name of the woman who played. Wait, it's Anna something, Duckface from the
Yes.
A&E, BB, PC, BDD.
Yes.
ABC, BBD.
You know me. That was so good.
Oh boy. So, I think she's an interesting in between point between those two, right? Because she's cruel in the same way that the 95 Carolyn is cruel.
Yep.
But she's a hot bitch in the same way that Indira Varma's a hot bitch.
Agreed.
Which, like, I'm interested in both of those Caroline Bingleys. I'm interested in Wow, Are You an Asshole? And I'm interested in Regina George. And she's Regina George here. And I think does a good job. And she also has a very specific casting thing. She has mean girl freckles. You know how there's like a girl you went to kindergarten with who had perfect freckles and she was an asshole? No, just me?
No, I remember. There was one in mine.
Is that a thing? That's a thing?
Yes.
Okay.
There, I will also, well, I mean, for white people, if we want to be very specific.
They always look like their parents are gonna tell your parents that you're not welcome at the country club.
I will say this. This adaptation are the two weakest Bingleys so far out of my favorites.
Oh, I love this Bingley.
This adaptation has already, even in the first half of it, jumped up into my top 5. But the Bingleys are kind of weak.
I'd agree with that too. Like, as far as I think the Bingleys serve the purpose in a really strong way, but as like individual actors, like there were better ones, right?
Oh, I love this Charles Bingley a lot.
He's doing a good job, but he maybe I'll be proven wrong in the second half, but he's kind of forgettable in the first half. He's up against stronger forces, and
That's
Wickham
true.
is not one of them.
Yeah, not this Wickham.
This Wickham is the worst.
We haven't even talked about this Wickham. Are we going to wait to?
No, let's talk about Wickham.
He's terrible. Just bad casting.
Bad.
I don't know.
Like, there was no coyness to his sharing of his story.
He's not a good actor.
Yeah.
He's very pretty to look at, but he's just, at least in this role, he doesn't really understand what the character is.
There's no swarmy. Like,
he doesn't understand that I don't know. I haven't seen the second half of it.
I think
at least in this first half, he seems not great.
I think that that's the point. He's not my favorite Wickham by a long shot, but I actually think it's really inspired casting because it does something that almost none of the other PPs that we've watched has done, which is assumed that there are people in the audience that don't know that Wickham is a piece of shit. Here, I don't think we're supposed to think Wickham is a piece of shit because I don't think we're supposed to know Wickham is a piece of shit because he's good at hiding the fact that he's a piece of shit.
But I feel like even if, like, I don't know. I feel like part of the Wickham thing is that he draws you in on the kind of like, well, I don't think I should say it's not necessarily proper, but I'll trust you with this. There was none of that here. It was just very much she asked, she told, and he told. And
I think Wickham is an afterthought here, and that's okay. Like, if that's part of your adaptation, but Wickham is not who we're here to talk about. This guy is not great. Maybe there's nothing about it that's interesting. Maybe
this speaks a bit to the straightforwardness of this adaptation, though, because it is a very straightforward adaptation around like just clipping along. Like the swarminess, maybe that I'm looking for Wickham requires more time. Maybe
it really doesn't, and I can prove it to you. His father loved me more than him, and now I'm poor. Right?
You're right. But the Wishbone did it better.
You're right.
Well, Wishbone did that better. But again, I don't think that that's the point here. I think we are supposed to agree with Lizzie that he's great. That he seems like, because you know what? It's the difference between having Wickham as a fuckboy and having Wickham as a nice guy. And he's a nice guy here. We're not supposed to see that he's a piece of shit. We're supposed to think.
Though it feels like he's a piece of shit way earlier.
I don't think you do. I think it's the first time that starts to seem that way is after the ball when Jane is talking to her about what Bingley said.
Yeah,
which we don't really get here.
He's being he's straightforward and candid, and like Darcy has not done himself any favors, so like it's believable that he did this.
Well, and they cut him and the Miss. Oh no, we haven't gotten to Miss King yet. No, yeah, they cut Miss King. He doesn't bail on Lizzie to get engaged to somebody else.
We haven't seen him get married to somebody richer, right?
Or start to do the thing.
Because truthfully, I'm just going to say it feels like this adaptation really doesn't give a fuck about the Wickham plotline. Like that's what it feels like. At least so far, they don't care. Yeah.
It's not as well. I guess I don't remember the second half as well because I just remember the Parthenon.
Tell the truth. Where is the reason you don't remember the second half? Because you were making out?
No, come on.
You said you saw this on a date.
Did I?
You told me you saw this on a date.
Did I?
Yes. I don't remember you saying date. I just know that you said you've seen it.
I've been on very few dates to a movie, and I don't think this was one of them. Was I high or drunk?
I mean,
this maybe. Was not drunk. We talked about this recently, so I don't remember. No, I don't remember it being a date. And dear listener, if you're listening to this and you're like, I was on the date with you. Well, one, wow, you found me. Two, I'm sorry, I forgot. Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying. I'm good.
I know what I'm saying. This Wickham isn't great.
Boom. Period.
That's it.
Yeah. Darcy, let's talk about Darcy and Lizzie now.
Both good. Both great. They're good at their jobs. They're both actors who know how to act. They're very good.
I fell in love with Keira Knightley all over again watching this first half.
I think she acquitted herself way better than I thought she would. So double thumbs up, Keira Knightley. Yeah. As I knew you already were, you're a great actor. Anybody's hate for you is about them and not about you. Double thumbs up.
Double thumbs up, Keira.
Yes, girl.
Yeah.
Matthew McFadden. Fine. I'm sorry. I think that the Darcy thing is just so elemental to a person who like has a certain PP. Like he's very good and he's handsome and he's like Bernie and all that shit, but he just doesn't have the same. There's something missing for me with him. I don't know. I can't explain it. I truly cannot explain it.
All right, well, let me get Matthew McFadden on the phone.
Okay.
He can apologize.
Matthew McFadden, what is wrong with you?
If you could just do us a favor and jump into the nearest pond, that would really help.
Can you come out in a wet poet's blouse? Please. That's going to solve a lot of problems for me, buddy.
I'm curious to see how I feel about part 2 because I liked Matthew McFadden more this viewing than I remember liking him. And I think maybe I'm just picking up on different things because also I'm far more intimately acquainted with the book than I was when I saw this originally. And I mean, I had read it, several times, but I've been, at this point, folks, we've been living and breathing Pride and Prejudice for what feels like 20 years.
This is
almost 2 years.
This is episode 30, isn't it? For us?
It's been almost 2 years.
No, it hasn't.
Well, it's been at least a year and 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, well, it's been because we started this during.
I'm rounding up, bitches.
Like it's 2 decades. This was 2 decades ago.
Yes.
Same. Gotcha.
Same. Definitely. I'm curious to see how I react to part 2 because I already like him more than I remember liking him.
Yeah.
I like him too, especially in the chamber scenes. Like when he was writing the letter and responding to Caroline when she was making Lizzie take the turn about the room, like that shit was way more sassy.
That scene and that exchange was the sexiest version of that exchange that I've experienced.
I like that one better.
And I felt like there was a little bit of spanking that was about to happen.
The dancing scene was very good. And I understood why they were doing the thing where they would go around other people and be quiet for a while and but it didn't quite I don't know. I think he is a slower burn. So now we've gotten to the Parthenon We've gotten to the oh hell nozzle, and now it'll be another dip and then straight up again. But it feels like my PP, Darcy was kind of a straight up, and this one is more of a like parabola.
There's a bit of
and
a bend.
I get that.
There's a bit of a bend to this PP.
Yeah, there's more bend to this PP.
It's an entirely natural curvature.
Totally.
Yes. To the left.
To the left. Oh, everybody to the left.
All right. Well, while we're on the subject of the dancing, there are a couple of like big famous moments or scenes or set pieces or locations that I want to touch on. And one is the Joe Wrightiest of the Joe Wright scenes, which is when Lizzie and Darcy are dancing and
at Netherfield when he has the ball.
Yes, and everybody else disappears.
God, that was a good. I like that moment so much.
I did not like that.
Oh,
I did not like that.
It hit me so in the right spot.
I love that, and I, as it was happening, looked to the screen to check in with how Julie was going to respond, and I watched her go, "Well," and look at Neil, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
I didn't like that. I didn't like that because I think that part of that scene and part of what makes that scene so impactful and filled with pressure in the novel is because they are surrounded by other people. And I understand the filmic choice to take it out and for them to be isolated or whatever, but I think it took away from the building pressure of the scene. It was a release valve where I didn't think there needed to be one. And then I look back and I'm like, well, there was no release valve for Collins, so maybe that's where they decided to take the release.
I felt that release there, though, which was like, because like through all of that, they had these very crowded rooms, but also like filming from the end of the room through the crowds. So like it always felt like right on top of each other. And that sudden moment where like the focus just changed completely to they're the only people in the room. And like, obviously, you know, we're not even hiding. We're not even hiding like the symbolism of all that. But like, it hit me in the right spot. I like
giddy. Those scenes because it looks like it smells terrible.
All of those dancing scenes are amazing because it looks like real people. Everybody's greasy.
Yep. Everyone's a little sweaty.
Everyone's a little bit sweaty, and you know why Darcy is like so nose up because it is bumfuck Egypt. It is out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, and also he's like Mary. He literally just doesn't like balls.
Yes. Oh my God, that was Neil's favorite Mary quote. I don't like balls.
Well, they're both, you know, they're not social creatures. Neither of them is a social creature. What I'm saying is I apparently ship Darcy and Mary now. But you can tell that he's just so uncomfortable. And he's always socially uncomfortable. Here I was like, oh my God, I would hate that too. It looks like it's so hot. It looks like it smells so bad. Everybody is drunk. No one is watching where they're going. There's that great shot where Brenda Blethyn is like eating like ice cream or something. And she tosses it over her shoulder and hits a dude like right on his fancy fucking collar.
Didn't catch that.
Oh, it's good. It's a good moment. This movie is full of little moments like that. You blink for a second and you miss some like cool little detail. It's a very detailed movie.
I don't know if I'm reading into this or if like we've just seen enough PPs at this point that I'm catching smaller details in this very quick adaptation. But
probably
I felt like
both, bud.
But I feel like in this one, I noticed that Darcy was trying to do the thing that Lizzie criticized him for the last time he saw her. So like the first time they met, he didn't dance. And so the next time they met, he tried to dance. Then during that, she was like, so you're going to fucking make small talk with me? And he was like, I don't fucking know. And so the next time they saw each other at Rosings, he tried to make small talk.
I hope your family is well.
Yeah. It was like, I liked it because it was suddenly like, I can see Darcy's always been trying to figure it out, but like it felt much more intentional in each engagement.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Janine. See, he had one.
Thanks.
Good.
Jesus, 30 episodes of this shit, and I finally made it. And it didn't have to end with me making a bad joke about Oasis.
Anyway,
Patty.
You guys are assholes.
Guys. You crazy kids. Okay.
I love our glasses.
So that's one. We've talked about the Charlotte Lucas scene, but we also get all of the swing shots of like life on the estate and all the people who work there.
I loved that. God,
Yeah?
that was so fun. Yeah.
What
Were you about
spoke to
to
you
ask
about
how
it?
we felt about it?
Yeah.
It just was a great, like, this movie. I was actually thinking before that moment of like, you know, this movie, because it moves so fast, it's fucking up with our sense of like how time passes, how far things are. Like everything feels like it's happening within a week. And that it actually made me a little nauseous because she was swinging and I was thinking about swinging and seeing maybe it's the humidity, but it was.
Neil was like, is this time passing?
Oh. And it, you know, again, not hiding the symbolism there. But it was cool to see the life. It was cool to see how dirty that place really is, right? Like it's a farm, you know, like I liked it. It was pretty to me.
I feel like my general conception last episode where I was like, they brontified it kind of holds true because it feels a little bit more grounded in gross, like reality, like piles of shit and the way people smell and like it feels a little bit more real. Like I would say that most of the adaptations that we've watched until now, in fact, all of them kind of shy away from kind of the reality of the time.
It's a bit polished in that Regency thing.
Yeah. And truly, there would be a pile of shit right outside their back door that we see. So that part I admire. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
What was the other one I wanted to ask about? Oh, I don't fucking know. What were your favorite scenes? Julie, you already said you loved Charlotte.
Monologue.
Yeah?
Charlotte's monologue.
Was there do you have, since we already talked about that one, do you have a second favorite? Or a scene you were disappointed in? I don't know.
Probably the Parthenon. I mean, the oh hell no proposal scene was very good. The adaptive choices of the script were interesting because they took out my favorite thing from the book, which is how ardently I admire and love you, which I think is a different statement. But it was beautifully shot and they both are beautiful people. So great. But I think overall, Charlotte's monologue about I deserve to be happy too was my favorite scene in the first half of the movie.
What about you, Janine?
Performance wise, I would agree with the Charlotte scene. Just scene in general of just filmmaking and the way it was done and how the choices they made about getting the story through and sticking to that realism. So that it was one of the long shots in Netherfield where there was a moment, I think, very long shot, and they were hitting on conversations that were happening that had further conversation after, because the camera would leave and the sound of that conversation that we heard that was important for the story faded out and they were kept going, but the camera kept moving and then found somebody else. And it was apparent with, I think when Lizzie and Charlotte were talking, and like, that's when I really noticed that, yeah, they're like doing a great job of slice of life, right? This is happening in a fucking party and these are things we need to hear, but they did a great job of noting that these important sentences are just a blip, and there's other things happening and kept moving. I liked it. It was such a long shot, like beautifully orchestrated, and everyone hit their marks. It was like every aspect of it was so well done and didn't feel mechanical. And that was like, being able to do a slice of life like that in 2005 with that technology, but I dug it. I thought it was really well done.
I think just to shake it up, I think I'm going to say Lizzie and Jane. Well, okay, I'm going to pick two. I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to say Lizzie and Jane under their dead wife sheet. Yeah. And then I'm going to say the Mr. Bennett punchline scene that was played for gravitas as well as the punchline. I just think that really... But that balls. It balls.
Are you talking about the pig balls?
There were a lot of pig balls. So many pig balls.
Why are there so many pig balls? You know why? Because there are too many pig balls in our lives.
The prince is giving a ball. I think that's going to do it for us.
I think we killed it.
Agreed.
Guys, we're a mess this week. We are going to come back next week to talk about the second half of the movie be Joe Wrighty to the Kira Fest with part 2 of Kira Fest. And I'm super excited to watch and talk about the second half of this movie, which has some really righteous scenes in it. I assume you are already girding your loins for our big Judi Dench scene. Because
it's going to be so good.
Judi doesn't miss, bitch. Judi doesn't miss.
Judi does not miss.
Judi can't fail, as The Clash said.
Hilarious.
You know, I do what I can.
That's pretty good.
Are going to do that then. And for now, we're going to leave. In the meantime, you can find us on the internet at Podlendercast and at Sick Burn Jane.
What?
On Twitter and Instagram. Sick Burn Jane. You can also find us on Patreon. Oh, and on the what? No, not yet. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/PodlanderDrunkcast, where you can join the Slack, do our lunch breaks, although I haven't done one in a while. I got to do one of those. Janine's Corner. Janine and I just did a Janine's Corner about Ted Lasso. Yeah.
Totally.
What?
So good.
Yeah.
Such a good one.
It's the Lasso way. It's the Lasso experience.
You have to get off that fence and watch it. Don't want that splitter in your ass.
Haven't you seen it, Julie?
Yeah, I'm current.
I'm referring to the song I sang.
Yeah, I don't know that shit.
I know you should watch it.
It's good.
It's a
anyway,
banger.
that's the thing you can find it balls. That's the thing you can find on Patreon. Among other things, we want to thank all of our patrons who make it possible for us to do the show. It's expensive. We could not do it without you. And then where would we all be? I want to thank all of them and would thank them all by name, but there are too many. So I will just thank the following wonderful people. Just Bree, Mallory Smith, Catspaw156, Batty Perkins, Snazzy Nacht, Lisa Brian, Julia Gulia, Kathleen Martini, Lauren Tennant, Kelsey Kemp, Madison Johnson, Emily Day, Betsy English, Caitlin Reddick, Ashley Tegason, Kristen Freckled Fury, Laura Colm, Amelia Bazell, Liz and Tinkerbell, Stella Welch, Chrissy Shively, Claire Feeney, Kayla Reagan, Rochelle LaFever, Heather Robbins, Jerry Hurdle, Emily Carlston, Amy Gustafson, Rachel Townsend, Steph Peterson, Kelly Mazzella, Chantel Salters, Mary the Falling Statue, Tara Lucchino, Viv Pickles, Mary of the Grapefruit, Jenna Bukowski, Ann Gibson, Ruth McCormick, Karen Marlowe, Trish McCrary, Julie DeToit, Jen Lander Drunklin, Kelly Bodden, Amanda Newton, and Kiki the Wise. We will be back with CureFest Part 2 next week. And until then, stay safe, stay alert, and try not to throw ice cream on men you don't know at strange balls.
Or do.
Bye.